grab some bagels, grab some locks. It's time for the Chatterbox. Video games have changed over the years, from simplified, pixelated patterns to high-fidelity 3D graphics. The scope of video games has grown as well with their budgets, so in a medium where it's existed for so long, how do video game developers keep our attention? How do they keep franchises from becoming, I don't know, stale or something? Well, we're here to talk about just that. Here today, we are joined by Patrick of NintenTalk.
What is going on, guys?
Now, Delapo's got himself an issue, okay? I was thinking about it the other day. I was thinking about how well these publishers have literally kept our attention with franchises that we get like year after year after year, and like as someone who only recently became what I would call a hardcore gamer, it's really interesting just to see that we're on Call of Duty. What I don't even know. Like it's probably somewhere in the 30s now. I think with all the DS and handheld releases, it's somewhere above there, and how people can still be so stoked year after year for a franchise they've had for years. Just to put some context on it, my first Call of Duty was Call of Duty Ghosts.
Wow.
Yeah, that was my first Call of Duty, and honestly, when you have only a Wii U, you don't have a lot of choice. So you take the third parties you can get. That and Watch Dogs. Yeah, I was that one person who bought that. So, you know, it's baffling to me, as what I would call, you know, a new hardcore gamer, just that these have existed for so long. So first thing we're gonna look at is what proper iteration looks like for a long-time gamer. So what in your experience, you know, with long-held franchises, what would you say is a franchise that has done it well, that has evolved well over time?
So I was thinking about this quite a bit, and it's pretty interesting because even if you go way back, like you have Super Mario Brothers, and then Super Mario Bros. 2 is like, what? It's so different. Same thing with Zelda. Like the second one, I don't personally like, but there are some fans of it, but it's totally different too. But I'm going to shy away from Nintendo a little bit. I'm going to go with, I think Elder Scrolls has done it pretty well. You know, you have Morrowind and then Oblivion and then Skyrim. Like, I feel like they stay true to kind of like what they're good at. And they just add not subtle things, but they just evolve the franchise. But I don't know, even Call of Duty, I feel like Call of Duty gets such a bad rap. So little context here. I do run a Nintendo channel, but I was big into Call of Duty. Like I was ranked. I like went to tournaments and stuff. And I actually have enjoyed every single Call of Duty game, like as weird as that sounds. I think that they have kind of got off track a little bit and went way too futuristic. And now they're like reining it in. I haven't played the new one, so I don't really know like what that's about, but I really like the direction of it. So overall though, I would say Elder Scrolls probably like the most solid for me.
You know, it's funny that you said that about the Nintendo thing, because like when I was like, oh my gosh, I have a Nintendo channel as a guest, I should probably, I don't know, look up some Nintendo stuff. And you're absolutely right. That was the point about Super Mario Brothers 2 and Legend of Zelda 2 were actually really interesting, you know, points to bring up, because the way I think about it as far as iteration goes and basically future-proofing your game, I have a strange little theory about how when you iterate early, like when you evolve your brand early, people can be less upset when they see changes in the franchise later on. So when something is like strange, it could be as something as dynamic as the change from Super Mario Brothers 1 to Super Mario Brothers 2. Or it could be something like Super Mario 64 to Super Mario Sunshine. I know that a lot of people were a little jarred having like the flood mechanic, but when you iterate that early, like in something like the 3D Mario space, people are more accepting of things like Cappy later on down the line. You know, you don't get that, oh, I remember when Mario was just running and jumping mentality, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the problem that Call of Duty ran into, is the fact that they genuinely just did not iterate enough between titles for so long that when something like Advanced Warfare came along or Black Ops 3 came along, they just weren't they weren't ready to accept it. So like, for instance, if they had iterated, I don't know, way back when, and made it like, if they had done that a weird pattern thing, like where it was like old school modern future, old school modern like future, people would be less, you know, hostile about a change in formula from these companies.
Hmm.
I think
Have you played the new one at all?
the World War II.
Yeah.
No, and the reason why is I refuse to spend $60 on that.
Yeah.
For some
That's
reason,
true.
every time I buy a Call of Duty at launch, literally like 4 months down the road, not even 4 months, it's like $20 cheaper, and then I feel like really dumb about it. I don't know. I feel really weird about it. It's just a personal thing.
Yeah.
But I do know that when I do start playing it, eventually I will be playing it for months. I'm still playing Infinite right now because I like it. That's just a personal thing.
Yeah, that game's fun.
So I think the I want to look at some franchises that are looking like they might be in trouble or something like that.
Hmm.
I think Halo found itself in an identity crisis
Yeah.
a few games ago. The if you're a core Halo player, like if you're someone who's played Halo for a long time, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But it's weird because at a certain point they did, like, I remember with Halo 2, they did have that like branch off in the storyline where you played as the
Hmm.
alien. And you know, it's weird looking back at that and being like, oh, I'm surprised they haven't, you know, tried something like that again. Like, obviously there was that vocal minority that was like, oh, I hated that, that was awful, why'd they make us do that? But it's going out of your comfort zone, and that's things like that that make it so that you can have a fifth game, you know.
Yeah.
um but I at this point I just don't know what they're gonna do for Halo 6, because I feel like they've been playing it so safe for the last few games, um with the exception of taking split screen out. I don't know what that came from. um
Yeah, and then like I feel like Destiny gives them a lot of competition now. But yeah, you're right. I feel like I didn't even actually think of that. Like Halo, it all kind of blends together at times for me. Like I've literally played every single Halo game. I don't know if I could like pick a favorite, but yeah, they all kind of blend, and I feel like that franchise with the fan base that they have, I don't know if it's just because they're afraid to take a chance, but
mhm.
they could definitely take a chance and get away with it. I feel like.
Yeah, I think they're probably scared about it. Like,
Yeah.
um, who was it? What was that? Assassin's Creed. Um, Assassin's Creed had an opportunity to, in my opinion, they had an opportunity to really revolutionize the way we play games as far as like history goes and things like that. I think
Hmm.
they genuinely played it too safe. If I'm being honest, I think they played it way too safe. Um,
Yeah.
like, I was one of those people who started on 3. I started way off
Yeah.
because, once again, like, when you have a Wii U, you don't really have a choice.
Yeah.
So
A
I
little
started
scarce.
on 3, um, and I was like, okay, all right, this is nice. Okay, I skipped 4. I played a little bit of Unity. Um, I don't know, and it just felt like I was playing the same game in different locations. Um,
Yeah.
for a long time, and it was just really sad. And I really do think that they have something there. I'm glad to see them. I'm glad to see that they took a year off to, you know, really change it. They even changed the combat. They made it an RPG system, and I'm really glad to hear that people are liking it. A lot of people
Hmm.
are liking it, and I'm really happy that that went so well. So maybe Call of Duty doesn't need to be an annual release game. I mean,
I mean, say what you want about Call of Duty, but they have like the controls. I feel like are flawless. Like for the longest time, Call of Duty was, you know, the I don't even know what you call it, like the ideal like model to make first person shooters. And I still feel like no matter what hate they get, like the sales numbers are still insane. I know there's like a big competitive scene
mhm.
around it, but I don't know. I feel like Call of Duty has a lot to offer to gaming, even though, with all the talk about loot crates and loot boxes and stuff like that. Not even gonna go there. But I don't know. I feel like they've progressed very well. But it is it is definitely like, they're kind of scrambling a little bit with World War II. It's like, oh damn, maybe we need to go back.
See, the real test of all of this is going to be the game that comes after that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one I'm waiting on. That's like, whatever that one's going to be is really going to be like, oh, what's gonna be our future path for Call of Duty, because a lot of people are saying they should just make a pattern out of it. And like, because when I was playing Infinite Warfare, it was actually really weird. Every once in a while I would pop in Black Ops 3, and for one reason or another, the matchmaking would be so much faster. There was obviously much more people playing it than Infinite Warfare. So it's not like they can't support two fan bases at the same time. They can obviously do it.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm thinking, if it were up to me, that's what I would do. That's what I would say we should do, is just make two games, make the old style. That way those people can enjoy their game, for 2 years or whatever, how many years. Iterate that way. Because I don't know.
When I was playing like Black Ops 3, I actually enjoyed Black Ops 3 multiplayer, but the story was I don't even know what happened. I just was shooting people. Like, it was a mess of a story.
I do not remember it at all. That's how good it was.
Like, there was this whole, like, they just went for way too much on that game. But I feel like if you made the campaign like the old wars, because I think the campaign, that's like what people prefer, and then had, like you were saying, maybe like the option of doing the futuristic multiplayer and then the traditional. But I don't know like how well that would work marketing wise.
I think what they could do, it's a weird idea, but I see what you're saying there. Yeah. And if they were to do like either like a modern or futuristic game as well, they could always have that like lobbyer system or whatever, where they just shut off the rockets and the extended sliding and all that stuff, and just make it whether you're planted to the ground. That could be a nice little middle ground there, but I don't know. They've got their work cut out for them for sure.
Yeah.
So moving on to our second topic here, the problem with sports titles and what they can do or have done to keep their audience's attention. So as someone who I hate simulation sports games. I really do. I don't. I play video games for fantasy. That's what I do. I'm sorry. And that is the phenomenon of the sports game is what absolutely baffles me the most. The idea, and I know inherently, like, there are those core people who buy that Madden every year, who buy MLB The Show every year, and they could tell you up and down every single difference between each title, But I look at those games and I'm just like, oh, that looks better than last year, or oh, that that's got a cool little feature that last year didn't have, like a story mode. That was something that took entirely too long to happen. But yeah, I always thought it was really strange how they've done this, and I don't really understand. I don't really understand it. I think the only sports game I own in my house is Madden 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so weird because I don't think you can take any other genre and take a game that came out like 7 years ago and have it be like, only graphically different. Like if you put in Madden 07 and you put in Madden 17, it's pretty much the same game still.
It's weird. It's really weird.
Like, it's graphical and roster updates that you're paying $60 for.
Yeah, but at the same time, we know they can do roster updates online. Like, that's not something that's difficult to do. So
that's true.
It's so weird to me. I don't know. And I think one of the strangest culprits to me is probably the 2K games, any basketball game, really. Yeah. Because if I'm going to play any sports simulation game, I'll probably play 2K. And the thing that's the strangest about those games to me is that how much can you really change it up, though? I mean, yes, aside from the fact that, you know, you can up-res the graphics and you can make the mascots look better, um, the sheer idea that um, the gameplay isn't changing. You're playing on the same courts you were last year. You know what I'm saying? Like, the the models, like the oh my gosh, the athletes.
Those things.
The athletes are literally 1 year older, so there's no like actual difference in their appearance. It's just it's really weird. I don't know. But once again, I'm not an avid sports player, like a sports simulation player, so obviously I won't be able to tell you each nuance that each game brings. But
yeah,
it's just it's odd. I do remember when the FIFA 18 commercials were coming out, they were talking about how they really focused the details through the Frostbite engine to make sure that when a star runs, they run like they do in real life, like, you know. And I was just like, okay, I don't know if you ever played the same game I have, but the camera's way back up, so it's not like I'm not even gonna, I don't know, like these are things I know on, like, as an outsider looking in, I'm not gonna care about. But maybe these are just things like little tweaks and things that they do for the core audience that buys it, because obviously these games are very successful.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, yeah, like I agree with you. If I'm gonna play a sports simulation game, it's gonna be 2K, maybe Madden. Like if I have like a friend that wants to play it, but I literally got 2K14 and I was set for like 3 years. Like I know certain people are kind of, you know, if your team gets like a big player or something, like they're gonna want that roster update. And they stop the roster updates for each game like on purpose, just so like you have to go to the next game. But honestly, you can skip like 3 years and be perfectly fine. Like I was gonna get the one for the Switch, just because I haven't played one in a while. But yeah, I mean, I almost feel like the consumers of those games, like I don't want to stereotype anyone, but it's like they don't really expect much. Like they just want the gameplay, whereas like someone that plays RPGs or plays like indie games, like they're gonna want that innovation. They're gonna want that like difference in like battle systems and stuff. Like what can you really do to a sports game besides like the presentation? Because I feel like that's the only thing that they could really do, besides these like terrible stories that they have. So bad.
But maybe that's what it, maybe the audience just hasn't spoken out about it yet, because I remember like Battlefront 1 released with like a slew of issues. Everybody's like, this is an incomplete game, there's not enough content, there's no single player mode. So say what you will about DICE and EA, but at the end of the day they put those into the game. It's just things that the community was vocal about. So maybe it's just like the majority of gamers who play those games just aren't expecting or don't ask for those things, because genuinely, for the most part, in the gaming community, when you're vocal enough about it, when you ask for it, you will get it.
Yeah, it's kind of like Titanfall too. Did kind of the same thing.
Yeah, another great example. So, quick question then, since we're talking about Titanfall 2, do you think that Titanfall 3 is going to have another story mode?
Yeah, I think. Like I love those games. Like Titanfall and Titanfall 2 were both excellent, and I feel like the story mode was pretty good. I feel like they could definitely expand on it. Like I felt almost like it was a big tutorial, and it was like, oh, the game's done. But I think I don't know. I think Titanfall 3. I think that's like one of the like that can be big. That can be a big franchise, like almost like Overwatch big or Call of Duty big. But yeah, I think if you put in like this big cinematic like story, I definitely think that it could be. I don't know, because do you think it's like a serious game? Like, do you consider like the online only games like serious games?
It personally, it depends. I have to, with an online game for me, like with an online only game for me, I have to feel like there's some sense of progression with my skill. Like I have to feel like I'm getting better. I'm being rewarded for getting better. And as I get better, I'll be able to do more and more stuff. And so what personally, and I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. This is why I don't really like Overwatch. The idea that when I go into a match, oh, nobody wants to be support. Okay, well, I guess I'll be support, or else we're going to lose off rip. So,
yeah,
and I don't get to get good at the characters I want to be good at, and because I'm always taking the L and having to be support, I just don't think for the casual player. I'm not talking about the competitive player. I'm talking about like completely casual. The skill cap is set relatively low, and I don't feel like I'm getting way better at it.
Yeah.
But with Titanfall, I think that you're right. I think there's something there. And if Call of Duty keeps going the way that it is, and they're just like, okay, we're gonna stick with, you know, the realistic stuff, I think the fan base behind Black Ops 3 and Advanced Warfare and Infinite Warfare are gonna find a new home in that, in the, you know, 3D movement and aiming and all that stuff. Because genuinely, I like that. It feels fast. It feels really fluid, and it makes me feel like, okay, when I die, it's because I didn't react fast enough, and I didn't, you know, swing around fast enough, or I didn't jump over here, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's just me.
Yeah, I don't know, because there's definitely a camp of people who, you know, don't really look at Overwatch or even like PUBG or something like that as not like a serious game, just because it only has that online aspect. So I don't know, maybe Titanfall 3 they focus more on the story, but
I would hope not.
I mean, of course. No? More like on the story?
No, you see, when I bought Titanfall 2, number one, I didn't buy it at launch. I refused. I didn't have enough money. There was Call of Duty already came out. I spent the extra money for the extra game that I didn't play. And so so when I finally got around to Titanfall 2, like, my backlog is like 16 miles long, and when I finally got around to it, I was like, okay, people have been talking about the story mode. They said it's pretty good, you know. So that was the first thing I did. And you're absolutely right. It's like one long tutorial for the multiplayer. Yeah. And you know what? Like, in all honesty, I had such a good time, no matter how short it was. I had a really good time with it. I felt like it was the perfect length for me, because when I go into a multiplayer focused game, eventually I want to get around to the multiplayer, and I don't want to be hung up on the fact that I'm still playing the single player. So when a storyline goes too long, I can start to like lose interest in it, because I'm usually taking breaks from it to play the multiplayer and then going back and forth, and then I'm like, oh wait, why am I here again? And then I don't ever finish it. That's literally what happened with Ghosts. It was just like, I can't finish this. It's just I'm coming and going too much. I can't remember what happened before this. So yeah, I'm just that kind of person. And when it's not like they lie to us with these things. They know they're giving us a multiplayer focused game that just so happens to have a campaign in it. But I've seen it done way worse. So I was very happy to see that they listened and that they gave us the story. I'm hearing very varied things about Star Wars Battlefront, about that campaign.
I'm kind of curious about that.
Yeah, I'm very excited to pick that up for when it's $20. But yeah,
it will be in like a week.
Oh yeah. Oh, without a doubt. That one's gonna be discounted real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the third little topic here: do gamers truly want innovation in their franchises?
Kind of going back to what we said, I feel like there are certain genres that players really aren't expecting innovation. Like, you know, we were talking about the sports games where, you know, the people that get hardcore into Madden, they're not going to want like a completely different way to play. Like the Wii, that was a mess. Whereas, I don't know, certain things like Breath of the Wild, I feel like I cannot like stop talking about that game, but I feel like like innovation happens the best when you're not expecting and you don't know that you've always wanted this. Like, I feel like there's still people that are hung up on the fact that Zelda doesn't have a bunch of like big dungeons, or like the fact that it's open world. But for the most part, I feel like everyone's like blown away by that game. And it's something that I don't think people were asking for, but as soon as it was introduced, which is kind of risky. I mean, Zelda's a giant franchise, but it was a safe kind of thing to do. Because you still have the little shrines and stuff that kind of act like dungeons. So I feel like when you're not expecting it is kind of like when it's the most effective.
Yeah, I actually really appreciated that they did that, the shrine, as opposed to the massive dungeon thing.
Yeah.
Frankly, because with the shrines, if you're in one and you're just like, I literally just can't figure this out, it's not tied to
Yeah.
progression for them, like, unless it's like, on Great Plateau, like you should probably be able to finish those. But like if it's like one I find I'm just like, man, I just can't figure this out, what I'm supposed to do here, I can always leave, do something else and come back. But with a dungeon in a lot of the Zeldas prior, like you have to do that, like you have to do them.
Yeah.
And I guess like you could equate those to the divine beasts, but if I'm being honest, I think only one of them was a real challenge for me. Which is weird because like I'm not saying I'm like super good at the game, but there were, I think it was the salamander one from the volcano. I think that was the one that I was like, what am I doing here? Like this is, I guess I'll go find some more Korok seeds. Like this is just but yeah, I really I love the changes that they did to it. And once again, I'm not a huge like Legend of Zelda person. Like I beat Link to the Past, my favorite game,
so good,
of all time. And then I played, was it Twilight Princess? Yeah, that was, yeah, it was a big gap. I played Ocarina after I beat Twilight Princess. I never beat Ocarina though, but so I don't have the best history with Legend of Zelda games, but my goodness, did I love Breath of the Wild. And I think
so good.
the good thing about Breath of the Wild is that a lot of people were like, oh, if this game wasn't Legend of Zelda, nobody would care. I'm gonna go ahead and say I doubt that.
Yeah, I doubt it.
I really do. I think this game would have woken people up. I think a lot of people would have been talking about this game. Yes, there's a pedigree that comes with, Legend of Zelda, but when I was looking at it, like, and I'm being honest here, when I look at like reviews and things like that, I do definitely see their issues with the story, that it's a little story light. But I think that only speaks to the argument that if it was another game,
yeah,
it really would have been, it would have done just as well. So yeah, I think just because we're not asking for it, I don't think that developers or publishers shouldn't go after new and fresh ways to look at their franchises. Now there are times when it backlashes. Devil May Cry is a great example of that.
Yeah, Metroid
Prime, no, it was just Metroid the Other M. Oh man,
that hurts me. I like that game.
And it's weird. I understand why people like it, but then every once in a while I'm just like, the Adam stuff needs to calm down a little bit. Like,
it is a weird game.
It's definitely weird. Oh yeah, I have no problem liking games other people like. Like I just said, I love Infinite Warfare. People hate that game. So yeah, it's been really interesting that some companies have been burned on it.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of another really good example of.
It's funny because one of my favorite franchises is Star Fox, and that that whole series has not evolved at all. Like, you had the weird dinosaur planet like rehash where they made Star Fox Adventures, but that wasn't even supposed to be a Star Fox game. And then you had Assault, where you came out of the R-Wing and started walking around. That was like the biggest thing. But even the most recent Star Fox game is it's a retelling of the N64 game. It's just crazy. And then the N64 game is a retelling of the NES game or SNES game. So it's like, do something with it. Like, geez.
I often hold that the Star Fox fan base is one of the most abused fan bases.
Hey, I like Star Fox and Kirby, so I'm like just taking all.
Oh, but with Kirby, you get like a new game every 6 months, so it's
it's true. That's true.
Yeah, hey, this is a Kirby factory over there. I don't know what they're doing over at HAL. Weird. That's another good example of. I remember the first Kirby game I played wasn't even like a 2D Kirby. It was Kirby Air Ride.
Oh wow!
And it was weird because like I was young and I played that and I was like, oh, this is Kirby. This is awesome. Okay, I can see what this is all about. I had that and then like the cartoon show Kirby, and When I finally got around to playing the 2D Kirby's, I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. But then I started playing more and more, and I was just like, okay, so they're just adding new abilities.
Yeah.
Okay. Fun.
It's so funny that Nintendo still like. I wish they would do kind of a change up in pricing with games because it's almost insulting to like. And I love Kirby. I love you, dude. But you have Breath of the Wild and Kirby near each other, and they're going to be the same price.
Yeah,
it's like,
no,
really?
that's no. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's ridiculous sometimes. I have a similar argument with ARMS, but that's a conversation for another day because I'm of the camp that I don't think that any fighter should be $60. But that's a whole other thing. I don't believe it. I don't believe in it. People have been burned many times. Marvel vs. Capcom, Street Fighter 5. It's just no.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as a whole, I would go ahead and say that gamers don't. And the reason why I say that is the idea that number one, it's not just Call of Duty, it's the idea that franchises can keep going on for years and not really do much, and still get away with it. I'm someone who's played every generation of Pokemon with the exception of Diamond and Pearl.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you that, yeah, they have new monsters. The storylines are usually the same every single time. There's not a whole lot of nuance there, and I'm actually glad to hear that there's some rumors going on that they're really shaking up the Switch Pokemon, which I'm really excited to see, because Sun and Moon, if I'm being honest, I liked the game, but it was a breaking point for me. It was me looking at it and I was like, look, I've been playing Pokemon for a really long time. And it's starting to feel like it.
Yeah, definitely. That was a weird. I mean, I enjoyed it just because I like the like environment and location and stuff. But I will not buy Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon.
Oh yeah, absolutely not.
Are you serious? It's like a DLC.
Yeah. I think it's with each Pokemon iteration, they've just done slight like quality of life things overall, and some, like, most of them are, really cool. The idea that I don't have to use HMs anymore, that's kind of nice.
Yeah, I like that.
If they ever go back on that, there's going to be some backlash. I don't.
You always had that one Pokemon that was just an HM.
Yeah, just oh my gosh, it was Gyarados. Just waterfall, surf, and then that's it. That's all you do.
Pretty much.
But yeah, I'm really excited. I love hearing when companies are taking chances on long-standing franchises. I really hope they shake up Metroid Prime 4, because something about this gaining, like, I bought the collection on the Wii U, for the Wii, all that good stuff, and I marathon played them. I got through 3, and I was just like, I can't scan any more stuff. I don't want to read anymore. But I just think by the 3rd one they were playing it really safe. So I hope it's been a long enough time, and I think that's another factor that goes into it, because when it's been a long enough time, I think that you're usually allowed a little bit more liberty with creative changes, like things like Happy. And the open world structure of Breath of the Wild, I think you're definitely allotted a little bit more freedom with that. Because what was before Breath of the Wild? Skyward Sword, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that was the last new one. So the 3D ones, yeah. So yeah, and even Skyward Sword, I remember looking at that game. Like, one thing, I didn't play it, but I knew people who'd play it, and they said that the motion control, like, sword play was weird, but overall it was a decent Zelda game.
Yeah, so. I didn't play it either. I heard the story was pretty good. I'm in the camp where I like Wind Waker over Twilight Princess, and I just didn't play Skyward Sword. What? So I like
Twilight Princess was so good.
I don't know, man. It was just weird. The main thing with me is I didn't like being Wolf Link, and I think if you don't like that, That's a big part of the
That's
game.
very fair. But I like the tone of it. I like the darker Zelda games. I like the aesthetic of them. Those have more appeal to me. I just like darker like Nintendo games in general. That's why I gravitated so much to Metroid and Twilight Princess. It's just the idea of the juxtaposition of these characters I see in Smash Bros. And and they're all
Now
goofy
they're like
and stuff
ripping
like
heads
that.
off.
Yeah, and I don't know. I like when Nintendo goes a little darker. Give me that Luigi's Mansion 3. All right, come on.
Oh my god, please.
It's been enough time. Let's see that.
I'm almost offended that you said it was the third one because I don't even consider the 3DS one.
I played that for like 45
seriously.
minutes, and I was like, yeah, if I cared about this game, I would definitely play it more. But I like I said, my backlog is too long. I had to get to other games.
Yeah. Oh my god, especially now. But Metroid Prime 4, they could definitely go like almost. I don't want to say like horror game, but they could come close.
If I got a rated M Metroid Prime 4, I would lose my mind. I would love that so much.
It'd be so great.
That would be so great. Oh, like a Dead Space-ish kind of thing, man. All the possibilities. And they're looking at rated M games. I remember they were talking about trying to recruit more rated M games. They've got quite a few now. To LA, Skyrim, and Doom, all rated M.
All came out within a week.
Yeah, it's got all the rated M games for the holiday season right there. If we don't get GTA, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Are you looking forward to Xenoblade?
Remember that
That's
whole
a tough
Wii
one to
U
get
conversation we were having? And
Yeah.
that was my first Xenoblade, and I liked it. So now I'm kind of like, oh, they went back.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's not looking too good for on my end, but I may pick it up when it's $50 because Nintendo games don't tend to lose their value a lot. So.
Yeah, especially JRPGs.
Oh yeah. So that one's gonna be 60 for a while.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I might once again with RPGs. When I know that I'm picking up an RPG, I know I have to like put in the time, which is why like I just started Final Fantasy 15. Another great, good on Square Enix for an iteration with that. Just go ahead and make completely different games and call it a different number. That is an approach. I mean, my goodness, man,
That's so true.
But yeah, when an RPG comes out and I want to play it, it's just I can't have any other games that I want to play around it, or else it's not going to get the time it deserves. I wanted to get Persona 5, and I was like, Breath of the Wild, I'm still playing it. I don't know. Or wait, hold on. No, did that come out first? No. It was Breath of the Wild came out in March. Persona came out. I don't know. It's irrelevant. I knew I just didn't have time.
Yeah.
I wanted to get it. I just didn't have time. It was taking up too much of it. Plus, when I got my Switch, I was like, look, I'm gonna put in all my time into Switch games, so if it's not coming out on Switch for a while.
Mm-hmm.
There's something really brilliant about that system.
Dude, it's so addicting. And I don't even play it on, like, I rarely play it handheld mode. I'm traditional, just like put it on the big screen. And especially like a game like Zelda, like I can't play that handheld. There's so much to see.
Yeah, I remember I was driving home with Super Mario Odyssey. I went into my bed. I plugged it in, in the handheld or whatever. I was like, no, this isn't right. I went to my living room, popped it in the dock, and played it that way. It's such a beautiful game. It's something that has to be experienced on the big TV.
Yeah.
But I like that the option's there. Something like Doom is really interesting too, because I remember like my feelings about that game when it was first revealed for the PlayStation 4 and all the other consoles, and I was just like, meh. But when I heard it was coming out on the Switch, I lost my mind. I don't know what it was about it. It was just it gives these games new life, and it makes the appeal of having it anywhere. Just man, go Nintendo.
It's so funny because like that game is full price right now, and you can literally get it for like $5.
Yeah, isn't that insane?
And it runs so much better, looks so much better.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Same thing with Skyrim. Like when I heard it was coming to the Switch, I actually skipped the Xbox One like remastered version just to play it on Switch, and like I'm glad I did. I'm addicted to that. So
I think the next one I'm gonna get is LA Noire though, because I I like story driven games. The last thing I was like burned on with story driven like old school style things was like Mafia 3, and any game that looked like Mafia 3 I was like, I'm just not gonna play it. I was so mad.
LA Noir is a good game.
Yeah, it looks like it, so I'm excited to pick that up this holiday season. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap things up here because it's about that time. It's about that time. Thank you so much, Patrick, for joining us here. It's an awesome
this will not be the last time, man.
Oh, I'm hoping not. Growth is good, and I love your channel, man. I'm telling you, sometimes I'm just like, man, if only the podcasts were longer, because like when I'm playing video games, I just turn your discussions on, and I just listen to them.
Oh, yep.
And it's just like, oh man, I gotta go to the next one. Okay, stop trying to suggest these other guys to me.
Starting this week, I'm gonna upload the full one because I've gotten that feedback too. So yeah, it's like they're like an hour long. Like the whole idea was there was one point where I wasn't making enough videos, so I'm like, oh, let me cut these up. Let me release them as like little videos. But now I'm at a point where I can just bang it out, put it out.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. You guys should definitely check out Patrick over at NintenTalk. Fantastic channel. I love all the content over there. Had a really funny GameStop prank video over there. Definitely check that out. I'll definitely put it in the end caps after this video.
Awesome.
Just want to remind you guys that there is a giveaway going on for once we hit 500 subscribers. Check the description below, and you could win PSN or Xbox Live for a year. And if you're a PC gamer, sell it. I don't care. Do what you want. All right? Any parting notes you want them to know? Tell them where they can find you. Obviously. Come on. What are you doing?
Yes. I'm slacking over here.
I know.
YouTube.com/NintenTalk, Instagram, Twitter, my personal address. He will link it below. Anything. Just search NintenTalk. I feel like I'm the only one. I don't know. Who knows?
What do you do over there? Tell us all the kinds of content we can find over there, because
I do kind of like this. So I'm not a news channel by any means. I kind of take the news and kind of take like the main points of it and kind of twist it around a little bit, make people think. I am the host of the Planet Nintendo podcast, which I do with 2 other guys. And I also do like reviews, top 5s, things like that. So a wide variety.
Ooh. Doesn't like variety. Come on. Go check it out. All right. Everybody, thank you so much for listening in, and stay perfect.